सहना भवतु तनौ भुनक्तु वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ So we looked into this mantra yesterday. We started Mundaka 2 yesterday. The first mantra, as we said, was discussion on Twampada Shodhanam, and the second mantra, Twampada Shodhanam, in which consciousness or Chaitanya was described as Avihi, that consciousness as my Swarupa was described. And in the second mantra, Tat Pada Shodhanartham. It was a little bit of Tat Pada Shodhanam. Archish, uh, Archishman or Archihi was described, and how everything, all the people, all the lokas and all the lokinaha, everything is fixed in whom? That tadetad aksharam brahma. Know that as that akshara brahma, and that alone is pranaha, that alone is vangmanaha. That is how we were looking at it. Tadetat satyam, that alone is the satyam. What is satyam? Avitatham, which is not changing. So previously was also that karma phala was also satyam. But what kind of satyam? Relative satyam. Now what are we talking about? We are talking about the absolute truth, absolute satyam. Tadetat satyam tad amrutam. That is immortal, and that should be tad vedavyam. That should be penetrated, that should be pierced, that should be targeted. Hey Soumya, Vitti, may you focus your attention on it. So the last Bhashya sentence was Yasmat evam he Soumya Viddhi Akshare Chetah Samadhatsva. Because this is so, therefore, O disciple, may you focus your attention in this Akshara, and may your mind penetrate this Akshara, meaning become one with this Akshara. May you know that you are not different from Brahman, from Akshara. This is the idea. So now going forward, what is done? So now going forward, how to penetrate this? How to penetrate this Brahman? How to penetrate this target? The whole, analogy is given that just like you shoot an arrow with a bow to hit the target, so also this bow, which bow? The bow in the form of Omkara should be used to hit the arrow. Which arrow? Our antahakaran, the arrow which is in the form of our antahakaran, our mind. The mind should be hit. Hit where? The target, Brahman. So this analogy was given. So now how to hit that target? Now, really, is it that kind of hitting? So it's just an analogy for us to, uh, to to focus that no, we have to see that oneness between Brahman and I. And for that hitting, what needs to be done? Dropping of all the other notions. But anyway, let us go with the Upanishad. Brahma Vedanam, how should the Brahman be pierced? So this is being said further. So Katham Vedavada. So this is the Sangati Vakya for the next mantra. Katham vedavyamiti. How should it be pierced? How should Brahman be pierced? How should be Brahman penetrated? Uh, then Uchyate, then the Shruti says, it is said, what is said? This third mantra. So we'll chant Dhanurgruhitva Upanishadam Mahastram Sharam Kyupasa Nishitam Sandhayita Ayamya Tadbhavagateena Chetasa Lakshyam Tadevakharam Saumya Vidhi. So, Dhanuhu Gruhitva, having held the bow. What bow? Which Dhanuhu? Upanishadam bow. Having held the bow, which is the Upanishad. Maha Astram Sharam. He upasa nishitam sandhayita. So sandhayita is the verb. So um, may you all place the arrow sharpened. Upasa place the sandhayita is placed. Then arrow is sharam. Uh, Maha Astram goes with the Dhanuhu. So, having held the mighty weapon, the bow, which is Upanishad, uh, may you place the arrow, Sharam. What kind of arrow? Upasa Nishitam, which has been sharpened with meditation. Ayamya. So you have placed that arrow on that bow, which is the Upanishadam, and this arrow has been sharpened with meditation. And then I am here, and then you have to stretch the bow. You can't just hit, otherwise it won't hit the target. So you have to pull it so much so that it will hit the target. So here also we have to pull that string of the bow. So having pulled that string, tad bhavagatena chetasa, uh, chetasa, meaning by the mind, bhavagatena, which is absorbed in the bhavana of the lakshyam, which is Brahman here, of the target, which is Brahman, tad eva aksharam Saumya Vitti. Hey Saumya, O disciple, may you pierce that target in the form of that aksharam, in the form of that imperishable Brahman. Okay. So, Bhashyakara will explain it further. Katham Vedavyam Uchyate, this much we saw. Then what? Dhanuhu Ishu Asanam. Dhanuhu Ishu Asanam Gruhitva Adaya Aupanishadam Upanishadsu Bhavam Prasiddham Mahastram Mahaccha Tat Astram Cha Mahastram Dhanuhu Tasmin Sharam Kim Vishishtam Itiyaha. So this much we will see first, up till Sharam. So Bhashyakara is explaining all the words of the mantra. Dhanuhu. Dhanuhu means what? Ishu asanam. As is the dhatu. From that the word asanam is made. So as dhatu in the sense of throwing. As dhatu in the sense of throwing. So that from which the arrow is thrown is what? Dhanuhu. So Dhanuhu, the bow is defined as that from which the arrow is thrown. Gruhitva adaya means having held or having picked up. having held or having picked up the bow. Then Upanishadam. Upanishadam word is explained as Upanishatsu Bhavam Prasiddham, that which is in the Upanishad, which is well known. What is that? That will be said as the Omkara. It will be said subsequently. But that which is there in Upanishad, wait a minute. Upanishadam. Uh, Okay, so here I have made a mistake, okay, in the translation. Dhanuhu gruhitva, it is not Upanishadam then. It should be Upanishadam. Uh, Let me check. It should be because we are taking the. I mean, ultimately, even if it is in Upanishad, wait, no, it is right. It is Upanishad only. So it was right, it is correct. But when Bhashyakara will explain, that is how then he explains it. Okay. So Upanishad meaning Upanishadam. Adaya Upanishadam. So here also it should not be Upanishadam then. It should be Upanishadam only. Right? What is the Bhashya telling? Hitva Adaya. No, here it is Upanishadam only. Adaya and U. Otherwise, it if it was Adaya and Upanishadam, it would become O. But no, it is Upanishadam only. So, okay, I am going to look into this and so maybe I'll check with Swamiji. Okay. Uh, Anyways, what we have to understand whether it is Upanishadam or Upanishadam is that Upanishatsu Bhavam. Okay, this Bhashyakar alone is saying
What's the difference between Upanishad and Upanishadam?
Upanishadam is that which is found in Upanishad. And Upanishad would be Upanishad. But again, the meaning, even if we take Upanishad, Bhashyakar will tell in that manner only. But still, if the mantra is telling Upanishadam to begin with, then it is just straightforward. If it is Upanishad which is interpreted as Upanishadam, then it is interpreted like that. So, not um, because otherwise the Upanishad itself is the bow, whereas we are telling the Omkara is the bow. That which is found in Upanishad, that is the bow. So that difference will come, right? Because here we are saying, what? Dhanuhu Gruhitva Upanishadam. So if it is Upanishadam here, then that is how we will need to translate. So I'll check on that.
Does anyone remember in the class? I remember listening to this CD twice, but I don't know why I'm not recollecting now. What does Swamiji explain this as? Like Bo is like Om or Bo is like Veda? Question to other classmates.
No, yeah.
Bo is like home.
Bo will be
Right?
like Om, but when we go from what ultimately it will be explained even in the Bhashya as Om only. So Swamiji
Okay.
will have explained it like that. But when we go from like word to word, so I'm just making sure is it am I making a mistake in the Sandhi etc. But when I am
Okay.
looking at the translation, even in the translation, uh, Upanishad Vedya. Or maybe Upanishad Vedya, meaning that which is known from the Upanishad. That is right. So then we can say Upanishadam. That is how we can do the Sandhi. And so then we can say, having held the mighty weapon, the bow which is in the Upanishadam, or which is known through the Upanishad. That is how we will translate. Which
Pushiji,
is
it is given
in
as Upanishadam. Upanishadam, nahi, Upanishadam.
no, not that one.
Okay.
I'm not even there. I am here.
Okay.
See,
Okay. Okay.
Gruhitva Upanishadam, this is
Okay.
where I am.
Yeah.
I'm not at Upasa Nishitam. That is something else.
Yeah.
So the bow which is in the Upanishad, meaning which is known through the Upanishad. That is how we should. Okay, so let us just do that. That is how it should be. Uh, the Upanishad. So again, Dhanu Gruhitva Upanishadam Mahastram. So by having held that mighty weapon, the bow, which is in the Upanishad, that would make sense because we are prescribing Omkara as the means of hitting the target. So it should be Upanishadam. And that is what, so it was my error in doing the Sandhi. Okay, that makes sense. The rest remains the same. So, having held the mighty weapon, the bow which is in the Upanishad, may you place the arrow. That arrow is our antahkaran, mind, which is sharpened with the meditation upon Omkara, having pulled back that string. Uh, Pulling back is in the manner, is in the sense of the mind which is Bhashyakara will say what kind of ayamya, and by the mind which is absorbed in the bhavana of Brahman, devoted to. It is not an ayasa, it is not an effort, but it is a loving act. So when you have love and devotion, then you will be able to focus on the target. Like even when you have a project in your mind, if your interest is not there, your mind will not be absorbed. And so also you have love and devotion for it, then your mind is absorbed in that Brahman. And then you can hit that target. May you then, O disciple, may you pierce that target in the form of imperishable Brahman. Okay, sorry. Coming back to Bhashya. So, Danuhu Ishu Asanam. So, bow, which is that from which the arrows are thrown. Gruhitva, having held, having picked up. Upanishadam, Upanishatsu Bhavam Prasiddham, which is well known in the Upanishadam. Maha Astram, that word is explained as Mahacha Tad Astram Cha, which is great as well as which is a weapon. That kind of dhanuhu, that kind of bow. Tasmin Sharam, in that uh, what sharam placing that is supplied, placing that sharam meaning arrow. Kim vishishtam iti aha, what is the speciality of that bow? What kind of bow? So then it is answered. So from here I have to read. Upasa nishitam santata abhidhyanen tanukrutam sanskrutam iti etat sandadhita sandhanam kuryat. So, what is its speciality of this arrow? Then it is said, Upasa Nishitam. The mantra says Upasa Nishitam, meaning what? Santata Abhidhyanena, by constant contemplation and meditation upon Brahman. Tanukrutam, which is Tanukrutam Sanskritam iti. So, that cultivating that mind, having that samskaras of Omkara in meditation, what happens? We take one thought and we repeat it again and again. We take Om Namah Shivaya, we repeat Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. So what are we doing in the process? We are having those, we are, getting the mind exposed to that samskaras of that mantra, and just that single mantra, and uh, upasa, that is how our mind gets focused. It drops all other preoccupations, all the distractions are dropped, and mind gets habit, or it is now getting the practice of how to focus on just one thought, dropping everything else. So this is what is being done when the mind is, is uh, exposed to this kind of upasana. Then that single pointedness, that concentration in the mind is developed. Okay, so what have I said? So what is the characteristics of this arrow? Then it is said the mind is sharpened by meditation, upasa nishitam, and a mind which is cultivated, samskritam, which is made subtle, tanukrutam meaning made subtle, which is made subtle how? By repeated practice of the same thought. The tanukrutam is, it is made subtle how? Santata abhidhyanena, uh, by constantly repeating, by repeated practice of the same thought, or by constantly repeating the same thought. When such a mind, etat meaning what? Such a mind, in the form of arrow, uh, may you place or focus the mind on that target. May you place, it should be, may you focus your mind in this manner so that it can hit the target. So then, okay, may you place, and then it is continuous. Then what? Sandhaya cha ayamya akrushya sendriyam antakaranam स्वविषयात् विनिवर्त्य लक्ष्य एव अवर्जितं कृत्वा इत्यर्थः. Sandhaya cha, having placed the mind on the bow, sandhaya is placed. Having well placed this mind, this arrow on the bow, found in the Upanishad, akrushya, ayamya means akrushya, and having pulled back the mind, how? Saindriyam. So along with the senses, your mind right now is going in all kind of directions, that I have to do this, I have to do that, and in the sense objects, along with the uh, sense organs. So along with that rasa, so it is not only that I want to go to a restaurant to eat, that okay, I've seen a restaurant and I want to go to eat, but let us say you are restricting that, not going, but even that rasa, if that is there, then your mind will not be focused into what you are going, what you want to do. So ayamya akrushya means you are pulling back your mind not only from the sense objects, but even from the rasa which remains in that senses. So, meaning along with the senses, you're pulling back the mind from it. Meaning the rasa in all our senses, you are, dropping it, you are withdrawing it, pulling back the mind from their respective sense objects. Antakaram, mind, svavishayat, from their own, respective sense objects, vinivartya, withdrawing it, and then what? Lakshyah eva avarjitam krutva. So now you have withdrawn it from the external distractions, from the sense objects. That you're pulling back the mind from the senses as well. And what are you doing? And now you still have to give mind a task. So what are you doing? So you're giving it another task now, to focus on this omkara, and having focused the attention uh, on the lakshya, which is omkara. So this I am supplying, okay? Omkara, nowhere it is written, I am supplying. So having focused, avarjitam krutva ityartha. Having focused the attention on the target, which is omkara. And Swamiji explained nicely here that when we are pulling back, what are we supposed to pull back our mind from? It's not just that east side marrows and our senses from which we have to pull out our mind. It's all the thoughts, desires which occupy my mind. From that, I have to pull my mind back. Then nahi hastena eva dhanusha ayamanam iha sambhavati. So this pulling back, like in the bow, you are actually pulling back. But what is the pulling back here? That will be explained. So, because here, the bow, Dhanushaha, the bow, cannot be pulled back. No ayanam cannot be pulled back here. Iha means here, because here, Dhanushaha, the bow, na ayamanam cannot be pulled back. Hastena, like hastena iva, like pulling by the hand. Na sambhavati, ayanam na sambhavati. Pulling, sorry, ayanam is pulling back, and na sambhavati is not possible. Then what should we do? So then Bhashyakara tells tad bhavagatena tasmin brahmani akshare lakshye bhavana bhavah tadgatena chetasa lakshya tadeva tathokta lakshanam aksharam saumya viddhi. So Soumya, I'm starting with Soumya, okay? To otherwise it sometimes becomes difficult to make the sentence. So, O disciple, vidhi is the verb. So what is that vidhi? Is may you pierce. May you pierce what? Aksharam. May you pierce yatha ukta lakshanam aksharam. Hey Soumya, may you pierce that imperishable target, which is aksharam, which is of the yatha ukta lakshanam, which is of the above mentioned characteristics or attributes. And then by that mind, chetasa. So by that mind, tad gatena lakshyam. Tad bhavagatena lakshyam. By that mind which is absorbed in the bhavana of Brahman. So this you will have a hard time, because sometimes when we make a sentence, because half a time Bhashyakara is explaining the word and then we are trying to make it into a sentence. So tadgatena means by the person whose mind is absorbed in this lakshya, in this Brahman, in this Omkara. By that kind of mind, lakshyam, I am also having a hard time doing, like, from where I'm going. Okay, by that mind which is absorbed in the bhavana, in the thought of Brahman, is explaining this tadgatena chetasa lakshyam. Okay, so by that mind absorbed in the lakshyam, in the target omkara, uh, this is the essentially what they are saying. Now, uh, entertaining the thought. So what does that mean? Entertaining the thought in that target, which is the imperishable Brahman, or sorry, entertaining the thought. Which thought? Omkara. Entertaining the thought that Omkara is the Brahman. Further, Swamiji will be explaining in a better way. I mean, this language is little bit complicated, but what thought are we supposed to entertain? That this Omkara is Brahman, Omkara is Brahman, Omkara is Brahman. Why? Because Brahman is our target, so we are linking this Omkara is Brahman as our target. So entertain this thought uh, that Omkara is Brahman, which is that imperishable Brahman. Don't go by this translation, okay? Just go by whatever I am telling right now. There may be mistakes in this translation. So essentially, in the bracket, I'm saying the mind should be absorbed with what is this bhavagatena? Tasmin brahmani akshare lakshye bhavana. So in that Brahman, which is akshara, which is our target, that bhavana, that love and devotion should be there when we entertain this thought. That is what this bhavagatena means. It should not be a dry repetition, it should be a repetition with our devotion and love. So the mind should be absorbed with love and devotion in this thought, in this bhavana of Brahma, in this thought of Brahman. How? With the help of Omkara. Okay, so that is the literal translation of the Bhashya. And then I have just added something that will, so all this mind should be absorbed. This is all from coming from Swamiji, because otherwise, this is just like English translation, which doesn't mean anything to me. So I have what Swamiji said in the explanation was that the mind should be absorbed with love and devotion in this thought of Brahman with the help of Omkara. That is what that Bhavagatena means. So mantra should be that which can invoke devotion. Otherwise, a given mantra should be entertained for a great length of time, so that that devotion, if it has not developed yet, it comes to the point that now you develop a devotion whenever you utter that mantra. So for cultivating this, otherwise one has to cultivate a habit, develop samskara so that the devotion develops. And for cultivating, a given mantra should be entertained for a great length of time. So Brahman here is Om, that is what the thought you are entertaining. And in this bhavana and utterance of mantra, Om, 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 you're constantly also having this vision that, okay, this Om is not just Om, it's the name for this Brahman, the target, this Bhagavan, this Ishvara, this Narayan, whom I want to know as my very self. Uh, the Chaitanya reflected by Omkara, because in every thought, what is reflected? Omkara. So in that way, I don't need to do repeat Omkara, Omkara. I can say Jug, Jug, Jug. Even in that Jug, 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 that Chaitanya is reflected. Chaitanya is reflected in any thought. But why Omkara? Because uh, this is the, this is what has been told in the Shastra, in the Upanishadam, and many people, and this is supposed to be the name of Brahman. This is supposed to be pavitram, auspicious, and which purifies our mind as well. So Om has that power, and so we are using this thought Om, the name Om, to focus on the Chaitanyam which is reflected by that Om. So Brahman is that Om, and in this bhavana and utterance of mantra, the Chaitanya Avihi reflected, the Purusha reflected by the Om, which is Brahman or Atma, on that we are focusing. And ultimately, what do we want to realize? That Chaitanyam reflected by that Om is Brahman, and that is what I am. How will I do that? So Om, 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 Om. When I do that in a slow process, then I realize that between any two Om, there is a gap, there is a silence. And this Omkara is, this mantra is coming, emerging from the silence and merging back into that silence. And then when I continuously do it, I find first there is silence before the mantra and after the mantra. Then, as I continue, Om, 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 then I find that silence does not go away in the middle when I'm chanting Om. Even when I'm chanting Om, the silence prevails. So, on this silence alone, this Omkara is as if projected. And that silence I ultimately find, as I ultimately realize, I ultimately recognize as that Brahman, as myself, as that peace. So this is how, over a length of time, we are able to focus uh, to that Brahman, to that Chaitanyam, which is reflected um, by that thought, by that mantra, uh, by that name of Omkara, and then I am able to focus on this Atma or Brahman, and that is what I am. So, so Swamiji said that Omkara can be used both as meditation or Nididhyasanam. If I just chant Om, 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 and in this way I'm meditating, then it becomes the process of meditation. If I further analyze what is Omkara, in this way, it emerges from silence, merges back, and then what is Omkara? Then it is Akara, Ukara, Makara, and how the Mandukya Upanishad explains. Then it becomes the process of Nididhyasanam. uh, I understand that by Om, I'm just focusing on this Brahman, which is the very Adhisthana, very substratum of the entire creation, and that is not different from me. I'm not entering that zone, but I'm just, concluding that Swamiji also said that Omkara can also become Nididhyasanam. And so, what is the hitting the target? That clarity Swamiji gave very nicely here. That reflected consciousness, which I find in any thought, is in fact the consciousness. It's not that the pratibimba and bimba are different. It is not that the sun and the reflection of sun is different. And so when I see the reflection of consciousness in any thought, I can recognize it, and through my knowledge from the Upanishad, through the Vichara, I make myself realize that I am not different from this. This consciousness is not different from the reflected consciousness, and that consciousness I am. Avihi is not somewhere outside. I am that very Chaitanya. It's only when um, uh, I am the one who, yeah, I'll just stop there. Otherwise, I'll go into too much complicated. So I am that consciousness who enlightens that very thought that we cannot deny, because only when I am aware of the thought. So I am, that Chaitanyam is, that Avihi is. So that Avihi is my very self. And so reflected consciousness, it's matter when we recognize that that reflected consciousness is in fact that consciousness which is not limited. The consciousness that I experience is not limited by the consciousness you or anybody else experiences. And so when consciousness doesn't have limitation, that limitless consciousness itself is what we call as Brahman. And so that Brahman I am. This is how we have to hit the target. It is not that we have to reach some place, but by focusing our attention, we drop the distraction and we focus on that reflected consciousness. Once our attention is there on the reflected consciousness, then we remind ourselves based on the vichara contemplation that we have done so far, that we have understood from the Upanishad, that this reflected consciousness and Bimba and Pratibimb, the image and the reflection, are not two different things. Image alone is getting reflected as this uh, reflection. It is not different. And so, when you understand that, then that understanding is what is called hitting the target. It is not a physical hitting. Moving on. Pranavo, Pranavo Dhanushara Hiyatma Brahma. Okay, I don't know what the tune is. Pranavo Dhanuha Sharokhyatma Brahmatallakshyamuchyate Apramet Apramatena Vedhavyam Sharavattanmayo Bhavet. Okay. So third and fourth were essentially linked. So again, this Rupaka, this analogy is being extended. And now clearly it is said that Pranavaha Dhanuhu, that Pranava is the Dhanu, is the bow. Sharaha hi Atma. This Atma meaning the Antakaran, meaning the mind, is indeed the arrow. Brahma tar laksham uchyate. So it is uchyate, it is said that Pranava is the bow. It is said by the Shruti. But that Pranava is the bow, Atma Antakaran is the arrow, and Brahman is that target. Uh, Vedhavyam. Apramatena Vedhavyam. May this be penetrated. Apramatena. Vedhavyam is may this be penetrated. Apramatena. By the one, by a person, by a seeker who is alert, who is not distracted. Sharavat Tanmaya Bhavet. How? Just as so may this be penetrated by one who is alert, single pointed, and one who has become identified with the target Brahman, just like the arrow becomes a one with the target. So also may your mind become one with the target, with the laksham, which is Brahman, and without any distraction, by such a mind, may you focus, may you become one, tanmaya, may you become absorbed in this target Brahman. As well as tanmaya is, may you become one, may you become identified with that target to hit that target, and after hitting, not that the arrow drops, it remains stuck with that target. So as well as knowing that Brahman, as well as abiding that I am that Brahman, so you remain in that identification. Okay, so Sharavat Tanmaya Bhavet, meaning just like an arrow, may you remain identified with that target. So, Apramattena Vedavyam, may it be penetrated by the one who is not distracted. And not distracted meaning what? Who is alert, who is single pointed. I can say who is also not distracted, who does not have inadvertence. All these words can be included. And then Sharavat Tanmayah Bhavet is the second part is, and may you remain one with that target, just like that arrow remains one with that Lakshyam. Okay. So, Yaduktam Dhanuhu Adi Tad Uchyate. Pranavaha Omkaraha Dhanuhu. So, Yad Dhanuhu Uktam, that bow, Yad Dhanuhu Adi Uktam, that bow and others which has been said, that is being now told. Tad Uchyate, right, okay, that is being said. That Yad Dhanuhu Adi Uktam, that bow and the others which has been said, tat uchyate, that is being said now, or that is being told. What? Pranavaha omkaraha dhanuhu. Pranava, which is omkara, the word pranava of the mantra explained as pranava is omkara, is the bow. Simple. Okay, good. Then yatha ishu asanam, और यथा ईश्वासनं लक्ष्ये शरस्य प्रवेशकारणं तथा आत्मशरस्य अक्षरे लक्ष्ये प्रवेशकारणम् ओंकारः. So यथा इषु आसनं लक्ष्ये शरस्य प्रवेशकारणं. So just as yatha, just as ishu asanam, meaning the bow, the arrow which are from which the arrows are thrown, or arrows are thrown with what? So just as the bow, pravesha karanam is the cause of entry. Pravesha karanam means cause for entry, or cause of entry. Entry of what? Of bow. Just as the bow is the cause of entry of the bow, entry where? Lakshye, entry of the arrow at the target. तथा आत्मशरस्य अक्षरे लक्ष्ये प्रवेश कारणम ओंकारः. In the same manner, so also of the arrow, sharasya, atmasharasya, of the arrow which is the antakaranam, atmasharasya meaning of the arrow which is the atma, meaning the antakaran or the mind of this arrow, omkara pravesha karanam. Omkara is the cause of entering or entry, where? In the target, is the cause of entering the target, or is the cause of entry in the target, which is this aksharam, which is this imperishable. Then pranavena hi abhyasyamanena samskriyamaणः tad alambanah apradibandhena akshare avatishthate. So by the one whose mind has become purified. So tad alambanah is a person whose mind has become purified by that constant alambanam, by that constant repetition of omkara. So by such a mind, or by such a person, by the one whose mind has become purified by the repetition of Omkara. That person having Omkara as the alambanam, support, abides in the aksharam without any obstacles. Avatishtate means abides. See, I am also having a hard time going back into it. So, avatishte means abides where akshare. Avatishte means abides. Akshare means abides in that akshara. Apratibandena meaning without any obstacle. This is simple. So then we have to figure out this. Pranavena hi abhyasa manena samskriyamanaha. So this is what? This is by the mind, by samskriyamanaha. We have to start from there, or we have to start with abhyasya manena. By the one whose mind has become pure, samskriyamanaha, by the one whose mind has become purified by the abhyasya manena, by the repetition of pranavena, omkara. So repetition of omkara is pranavena hi abhyasya manena. Abhyasya manaha is the one who has done this repetition. So I am simplifying the sentence as by the person whose mind has become purified by the repetition of omkara. Purified is coming from samskriyamanaha. Okay, and tad alambanaha would be that person having omkara as the alambanam, support. He avatishtate, abides in akshare apratibandhenaha, without any obstacles. Then yatha dhanusha aste ishuhu lakshye. Just as the ishuhu, the arrow, aste, thrown. Aste is the verb here. So just as the arrow thrown dhanusha by the bow, lakshye meaning hits and becomes one with the target. So in the same manner, so just as by the one whose mind, so now we have to connect the previous sentence and the next sentence, then it will make sense. So by the one whose mind has become purified by the repetition of omkara, that person having omkara as the alambanam, support, abides in the akshara without any obstacles, just as the arrow thrown by the bow hits and becomes one with the target. Ataha pranavaha dhanuhu iva dhanuhu. Therefore, here pranavaha is as though the bow, or being similar to the bow, pranavaha is called the bow. Okay. Further, sharaha hi atma upadhi lakshanah parah eva jale suryadivat pravishtaha dehe sarvabauddha pratyaya sakshitaya. Let us take this much part first, then we will take the rest. So Sharah hi Atma. Okay, this is going to be complicated. Let us see if I can have both together. Okay. Sharah hi Atma Upadhi Lakshanah Parah Eva Jale Suryadivat Iha Pravishtah Dehe Sarva Bauddha Pratyaya Sakshi Taya. Let us see if I have done the exact translation. This Atma and this Atma conditioned Upadhi Lakshanaha, conditioned by the Upadhi, and this Atma, I should say, which is the arrow. Well, I have said here. And this Atma conditioned by the Upadhi Lakshanaha, he, Sharaha. And this Atma conditioned by the Upadhi alone is the arrow. This is the sentence. Sharaha hi Atma Upadhi Lakshanaha. And this Atma conditioned by the Upadhi of this body mind sense complex, that alone is the arrow. Swamiji has explained here that by Upadhi Lakshanaha, we are talking about Sopadik Brahman. So basically, if you look at the sentence, it is talking about this Jivatma. And who is this Jivatma? The Paramatma alone identified with the Upadhi, the Sopadik Brahman. He alone, Suryadivat, just as the sun, when it sees its reflection in the water, it thinks as if it is limited. So also the Sopadik Brahman, the Paramatma, which is identified with the Upadhi and which feels that it is limited, which is the Jivatma, that is, Pravishtaha. That Paramatma has as though entered in our body as what? Sarva Bauddha Pratyaya Sakshitaya, as the witness, as a Sakshi of all the Sarva Bauddha Pratyaya, as a Sakshi, as a witness to all the thoughts which occurs in our intellect. This is how Paramatma has entered the body. So this is what we want to say, and this we are trying to Sah. Okay, that is all it is. So, and this Atma conditioned by the Upadhi alone is the arrow. That Paramatma has entered in the body, and having entered the body, so Pravishtaha, Paraha Iha Pravishtaha, that Paramatma has entered here, where? In the Dehe, has entered here in the body, and having entered the body, he remains here as what? As the witness, Sakshi, as the witness of all the thoughts, Sarva Pratyaya, Sarva Bauddha Pratyaya, of all the thoughts born in the Buddhi or intellect. How? Suryadivat Jale, or Jale Suryadivat, just as, or just like the entry of sun, which is reflected in the water. I know it is a little bit complicated, and when I'm going word to word, but the whole idea is that Paramatma alone has entered this Upadhi by identification with this Upadhi. The entry is the identification with this Upadhi. Saha Sharaha Iva Swatmani Eva Arpitaha Akshare Brahmani. So that conditioned Brahma, Saha is what? That Sopadik Brahman, or that conditioned Atma, that Sopadik Brahman or Atma, that conditioned Atma, Sharaha Eva, like an arrow, Swatmani eva arpitaha, has entered in its self. Swatmani means its self. Arpitaha, entered, fixed, has entered in its self, which is what? Akshare Brahmani, in itself, which is the very Akshara, Brahma, the imperishable Brahman, limitless. Ataha, therefore, Brahma tat lakshyam uchyate. Therefore, Brahman is said to be that Atma, that Jivatma's target. Because that Akshara, Okay. Because by those who have, uh, let me read this first, and then because it is word by word, it is just not making sense to my mind as well. Because by those who can concentrate the mind, samadhitsubihi, by those who can concentrate the mind, they are the ones who target pure Brahman as the very self. Uh, Lakshya iva manah. They are the ones who target Brahman as the very self. Lakshya iva manah atma bhavena. They are the one who target Brahman as atma bhavena, as the self, not different from myself, atma bhavena, as the very self. They find Brahman as the very self, and they know Brahman as the very self, as well as they abide in that Brahman is my very self. So this is the translation of the entire thing. Okay, Lakshamanatvat. Lakshamanatvat is the one who has this akshara as the target. That therefore being as though a target, Laksha Eva, therefore being as though a target, Brahman or Akshar is said to be the target. That's the translation, and then there is my notes. What is it? What is the take-home message? Because the language is so complicated, the analogy is so complicated. What is the take-home message? Take-home message is what is the anusandhanam, what is the contemplation that we have to do? The contemplation we have to do is that I, the jiva, the reflection is not different from Brahman. The reflected consciousness is not different from consciousness. That sense of limitation I constantly feel is false. So let me give up that that sense of limitation anytime and every time it arises. So that is the anusandhanam. That is the target that we have to hit. That anytime any other contrary thought comes, I drop it and I again identify myself with that one thought, that the reflected consciousness that I experience constantly through my thinking, through my knowing, through my talking, through my hearing, is even right now is not different from that consciousness. Who am I? The sense of limitation is false, and who am I? I am the witness of the upadhi, and I am the witness illumining all the upadhi and all the effects of the upadhi. So reflection is nothing but the image. I know we are okay. Two more sentences. We'll just complete this mantra. तत्र एवं सति अप्रमत्तेन बाह्य विषय उपलब्धि तृष्णा प्रमादवर्जितेन, one word, बाह्य विषय उपलब्धि तृष्णा प्रमादवर्जितेन सर्वतः विरक्तेन जितेन्द्रियेण एकाग्रचित्तेन towards वेद्धव्यम ब्रह्म लक्ष्यम. So tatra eva, tatra means thereafter, evam sati, when this is so, uh, then then this Brahman, which is the target, then this Brahman, which is the target, with the vyam, should be pierced. How? Apramattena, with alertness. How? By whom? Viraktena, by the one who is Viraktena, Sarvataha Viraktena, by the one who is dispassionate, entirely dispassionate, meaning whose activities, because of being dispassionate, whose activities of the sense organs has automatically quietened by such a person. Jitendriyaha, where is Jitendriyaha? Jitendriyena, by the one who has mastered his sense organs. Ekagra chittena, the one who is single pointed, single focused, by one who has this vastu alone in front as the target, who has this Brahman, vastu meaning Brahman, who has this one target that I have to know this Brahman. By such a person, one who is free from apramatena, one who is free from distractions of desire for perceiving something or knowing the external sense objects, and the trushna. So apramatena is both free from the distraction of desire and trushna, from desire to know something external, and the trushna means the fascination, means the rasa, both free from the desire and the rasa, the fascination of the mind to enjoy those sense objects and pleasures. So that was Bhakya Vishaya Upalabdhi Trushna Pramada Varjitena. Okay, I have not gone word to word, but this is the essence. We can go Bahya Vishaya. I mean, in that whole sentence, it is explained. Bahya Vishaya means external objects. Upalabdhi is perception. Trishna is desire. Swamiji just expounded on it. So I just took that instead of going word to word. And the last sentence is Tataha tat vedhanad urdhvam sharavat tanmayaha bhavet. So then, after piercing the target Brahman, one should become Tanmayaha. One should abide in it, just like the arrow abides, just like the arrow remains identified with the target. Meaning, yatha sharasya lakshyam ekatmatvam phalam bhavati, just as there is this oneness between the arrow and the target, tatha dehadi atmata pratyaya tiraskarnena, in the same manner, uh, tiraskarnena akshara ekatmatvam phalam apadayet ityartha. In the same manner, may you abide in that oneness of akshara and yourself. uh, may you abide in this understanding of jiva is none other than this akshara brahma. How? Dehadi atmata pratyaya tiraskarana. Anytime that I am deha, this pratyaya, this thought occurs, you reject it. So by constantly focusing in the atma bhava, and by constantly rejecting that deha bhava, may you abide in that oneness, in that identity of I am Brahman. So just as the arrow is seen to be one with its target, similarly, may you attain or gain the result, phalam apadayet. May you gain the result of akshara eka atmatvam, of identifying the oneness of the self with akshara brahma, dehadi atmata pratyaya tiraskarana, by giving up the thought of I am body, etc., the thoughts of identity with the non-self. Okay. I'm sorry, I felt I rushed today, or it was not clear, but it's the analogy. We try to do as much as we can. But that is where Swamiji's, his unfolding helps us. So you resort to this mantra and just understand overall. And the take home message is what Swamiji tells that in the lecture, and you hold on to that so that we can keep it in with us, and understand what exactly is this omkara, how is this ayamya, etc., to be done, so that take home should be clear. Okay, slow process. We'll start with mantra 5 tomorrow. Okay. ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्तिः 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 हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ हरि ओम् See you
Hari Om.
tomorrow.
Hari Om, PG. Hari Om.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Pushti ji. Hari Om.
Thanks for
Thank
hanging
you.
on.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pushtiji. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It was nicely explained.
Very nice, well explained.
I don't know, it was complicated for me as well. Sometimes I was getting lost. So, yeah, it's tricky.
No, we could
But,
understand very well. Very nicely explained.
But yeah, so what you can do is when you are preparing your notes, just listen to your sections. And all these sections may feel complicated, but Swamiji has done very nice job of, how should we make it our own in understanding that oneness with that Brahman. So that part is very well explained, and we can always, keep it that, like, use those words, and it will be very helpful for our Nididhyasanam as well. Okay.
Yes.
No, is it available for us, this notes, Pushtiji?
No, because there may be a lot of mistakes.
Okay.
And this is what I am working. It is a work in progress.
Yeah.
It may have mistakes, but at least for me to explain to you in this manner, I need to do this homework. Otherwise, I would be completely lost. Even after doing this homework, sometimes I find it hard, because sometimes I have to explain the sentence from last. It is not that from the first word I have to start.
Yeah.
So,
The language is like that, yeah.
yeah, that's Sanskrit language is like that. Yeah. Okay, so
Yeah,
see
but
you tomorrow.
even though if you give us these notes, it will be helpful when we listen the lecture again.
I still resist because I could have made mistakes, so I don't want to float
No
it.
problem. No problem.
And I may have done some more grammatical analysis, which I don't want all of you to get distracted into.
Yes.
It's just for
yes.
my understanding that I have to dig into that. So I
Yeah.
want all of you to focus on what Swamiji says. So that is why
Yeah.
I'm purposefully not giving. And if it was, proofed, then I would have shared, but it is not proofed. So I'm not
Okay.
sharing.
No problem.
Okay?
No problem.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, Hari Om.
Hari Om, Hari Om. I'm going to stop recording.